Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, Bashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four quarters of the earth, going out and proclaiming this truth. As you can see, though, that a lot of the things that we've been doing as of lately, bullshit YouTube community guideline strikes have been happening, or you might see this message on your video. The following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. Viewer discussion is advised, like the bullshit they put, for the movie, but the movie's out there anyways. We're still out here and all that, but, so you'll get a community guideline strike, then you can't do live streams anymore, and your videos may be limited to 15 minutes, as in my case, that doesn't disappear till the middle of July. And just Esau's getting very sensitive, getting very anal about everything. Well, that's because they know that they're not the real Jews, and they know that we are on to their bullshit now. So anyhow, let's get into this, shall we?
3D maps produced by USGS show the significant widening at Halemaumau crater since mid-May, the scientific agency said. Magma in the summit magma chamber has drained over the past month due to the Lower East Rift Zone eruption, causing much of the floor and rim of Halemaumau to drop or collapse. These changes have resulted in a much deeper crater, with rubble covering the floor. The deepest part of the crater is now 280 meters, which reaches below the previous crater floor. 2 explosions also rocked the summit on Monday at 12:46 a.m. local time, 11:46 a.m. BST, and 4:43 a.m., 3:43 p.m. BST. USGS said the second explosion was more typical of the size of events that have been occurring at the summit over the past week. It added, inward slumping of the rim and walls of Halemaumau continues in response to ongoing subsidence at the summit. The last measurement of the crater's dimension by scientists was around 1.8 kilometers, 1.1 mile, wide, which is nearly twice as large as it was before explosions began on May 17, 2018. Aerial footage taken above the crater by a helicopter on the same day captured the impact of the subsidence so far as ash clouds are seen rising above. In a bid to track the patterns of Kilauea's behavior, scientists have installed satellites around the volcano known as Global Positioning Systems, GPS. What does Global Positioning Systems, GPS, do? As the crater's walls continue to slump, volcanologists are monitoring the seismic activity to try to work out what is going on underneath.
But Esau's not going to be able to work it all out. In fact, this is just the beginning of sorrows, the earthquakes in diverse places, famines and pestilences. Yeah, that's all happening now. So let's take a look at another event happening.
We've been following this issue with the dam in northeastern Colombia that is set at some point in the future to fail and cause massive epic destruction, but there's also another issue going on now. It's in the southwestern part of Colombia, almost all the way down on the border with Ecuador, and it's near this little town called Pasto. There's a volcano called the Galeras volcano, and it has been incredibly active over the years. It's had some huge explosions and killed people. In fact, there was an entire research team that got killed down there in '93. Well, very recently, this morning in fact, there was a couple of very, very nasty earthquakes in the region that have killed 2 people so far. And given everything else that we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if this were the next big volcano to hit Latin America. I don't think what we're seeing now is any kind of just one-off issue with Kilauea and then Fuego in Nicaragua. Now we're seeing Galeras start to shake and earthquakes on the mountainside. If anybody wants to know where to find this, of course, the real news can actually be found at Telesur. 2 dead after double earthquake at Galeras volcano in Colombia. Pardon some of the translations here, it's not exact. Tremors recorded after 4 in the morning, and one between 1 and the other there was an interval of 1 minute. So, pardon the translation. 2 people killed by landslide and several affected houses left a double quake recorded during the early hours of Tuesday near Galeras Volcano, Nariño Department, southwestern Colombia. Now, these aren't very big quakes, but it's where they're at is the problem. They're only 4.5 and 4.3, and anybody who knows anything about that knows those aren't giant temblors, but apparently these people were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The president of Colombia has himself even reached out to those who have been affected by this tragedy, but of course we're not hearing anything about it in the mainstream media here in America. Major volcano has 2 giant earthquakes.
Just like we're not hearing about the microchipping of our, Northern Kingdom, but it's happening, though. I mean, this is part of Donald Trump's war on immigration, and he's been chipping our people. So, that's just part of it. Earthquakes in diverse places, famines and pestilences, and, of course, you also have chipping, RFID, Mark of the Beast. Here's some other shit that you're not hearing about, but it's happening. Earthquakes in diverse places. Here's another part of that area.
Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you once again. So you're going to see a common theme running through things here today. We're going to start with flash floods hitting Guadalajara, leaving some areas under 4 meters, 13 feet of water in Mexico. And just incredible rains that we're seeing. And again, we know how these chains of events go. So, the volcanoes are going off. We know that eruption down in Guatemala threw a ton of particulates into the air. We know it's going to actually have a cooling effect locally and on the planet overall. And there are more than just that one volcano going off. There's volcanoes waking up in many parts of the globe. And so here is just another example of what's going on. Heavy rains associated with Tropical Cyclone Bud also are adding to this, and we're going to see more about Bud as well. So Bud is very, very interesting in the area that it formed. The same thing with the first tropical cyclone of the season as well. It's an area with extremely warm water temperatures, an anomalous area, and so it's all the way up to Category 4 now. And so heavy rains associated with Tropical Cyclone Bud hit Guadalajara on the 10th, producing severe flash floods in parts of the city, including light rain system where 40 people have been rescued. And we can see, look at this shot. Look at the people there in the railway cars, the train. It's halfway underwater. That is just incredible what we're seeing here. Look at them. They're swimming to stay up there. Authorities said one person showed signs of hypothermia, received medical treatment. The water also entered Zacualpan and Zapopan hospitals. And you can see over here again in Jalisco, Mexico, a canal running parallel to Patria Avenue and Zapopan overflowed and flooded nearby areas, stranding several cars.
So, yeah, you're not getting all this on CNN or ABC or any of that, but the Most High is visiting these places, and right now he's been visiting the Northern Kingdom, because you got to remember, before he judges the wicked, he judges the house of Israel first, and so, we better pray that we get right before he comes to visit the Southern Kingdom, and, the Northern and Southern Kingdom, the 12 tribes, man, you ain't right. It's time to get right. It's time to repent while you still got time, because this mark is now mandatory, especially for the northern tribes. Eventually will be for the southern tribes.
The trade row between the European Union and the United States is now in full force, as the European Commission has said it will begin charging 25% import duties on a range of American products. The EU formally adopted a law to put in place duties on $3.2 billion worth of U.S. goods, including steel, aluminum, and farm products from Friday. The move is in response to U.S. tariffs imposed on EU metal exports. The U.S. president hit the EU, Canada, and Mexico with 25% levies on steel and 10% on aluminum at the beginning of June. Mexico retaliated against that move 2 weeks ago, while Canada said it would place tariffs on U.S. exports from July the 1st.
So, anyhow, that's what's going on. Pretty much, these nations are getting tired of America and their bullshit. So, they're learning to trade without the U.S. dollar, or at least stick it to them, telling them to stick it up their ass, pretty much. And so we know that this is all part of the deliberate crash of the economy, And so, while that's happening, of course, they're prompting the war, playing games with North Korea and just provocating more war.
Some takeaways from this big meeting between Kim Jung Un and Trump. Several things went down, several things said, and with Trump saying that we're going to stop these drills in South Korea, these war games, this has pretty much left them stunned, South Korea. Like, what do you mean? Like, you never said nothing to us about this? They're even saying that the U.S. military was not expecting something like this to be said from Trump, but Trump cites that he wants to bring our troops home. He also goes on to state that, although they didn't talk about it, he says that he thinks that the war games are very expensive and wants to bring troops home. Now, whether all this is just talk or it's really going in that direction, yet to be seen. It's going to take time, because many people are asking how trusted or how trustworthy is this regime of Kim Jung Un. As Trump states, he trusts him and Kim Jung Un trusts Trump. After a couple minutes of a meeting in which Kim Jong Un didn't even want to use a pen that had Trump's name on it. So they go back and forth in trying to work some things out here, and apparently they did some bargaining on trying to state that this whole denuclearization is going to go down, that they're going to shut down all these sites, and Trump pretty much says that this whole area could be loaded with hotels, beaches, boats, all this stuff is pretty much how I put it to him, if you just give up your missiles and your weapons.
And we know that that will result in them being overthrown like Muammar Gaddafi. There's more, because this is really a provocation with the war against Iran.
We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, unless and until we see that the future negotiation is not going along like it should.
Hey everybody, I'm Chad Booksam with Alternative Media Television. So Donald Trump has stated that he's going to pause the military exercises that are occurring off the Korean Peninsula. They've been doing this for years. It obviously is a big provocation. Now, after the summit, after the sit-down with Kim Jung Un, he stated this in order for Kim Jong Un to basically give up their nuclear program, to give up their nuclear weapons, which we don't know how many they have. Now, he said this. Now, we stated this in a previous live show. Donald Trump, the way he negotiates, the way he does business, don't take everything that he says in the public sphere as fact. There has been no military guidance to stop the exercises as of yet. This might be just a trump card to see how Kim Jong-un reacts.
He trusts me, I believe. I really do. I mean, he said openly, and he said it to a couple of reporters that were with him, that he knows.
And, you know, this is really just to fight Iran.
Don't trust America. Look what happened with our Iranian nuclear deal. Donald Trump is playing you.
But given the past record of the US and President Donald Trump, who has violated international treaties, especially the 2015 nuclear deal, Iran remains deeply pessimistic about Trump's intentions. North Korea should act with caution.
But this is what Israel has just stated also, that the energy minister in Israel stated that if Assad continues allowing Iran to operate out of Syria, it will be his end. It will be his end. Basically threatening the life of Bashar al-Assad if Iran continues to operate out of Syria. Now, what Israel is saying, what the United States is saying, that Iran, they are basically disguising themselves as Syrian soldiers, okay, in order to not be a target. Now, Russia and China might view this little deal with North Korea as something that's going to be a beneficial thing for them, because Donald...
It ain't going to be beneficial. This is going to lead to World War III. Shalom. Until next time.